Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Tammy and I'm here today to talk about the 2021 Powersheets. Now, if you have been around the channel for a while, you know that in 2020 I have been using a goal setting planner that has a weekly view combined. And I want to just start off this video by saying that I genuinely love the Cultivate What Matters company, mission, their products, and their support of the community. So if you are looking for more information about the 2021 Powersheets, I hope that you'll stick around today and join me as we chat, going through every detail of what I loved, what I wish they would still change, and how this may fit into my 2021 system. Let's get started. I will tell you right from the start that I have 5 pages of notes. I really wanted to take my time and think about how the Powersheets may best work for you. Whether you have kids, whether you have a full-time job, whether you have had a major life upheaval during 2020 in any of those areas, if you are working on setting goals for a new year and you have so much vision and so much drive, just so much anticipation for what could come in a new year, a goal setting planner may be on your wish list right now. The 2021 Powersheets will launch this week, and I'll have all the information as well as an affiliate link in the description below. Please feel free to use the link of whichever affiliate, if any, has affected your decision to purchase the Powersheets the most or has just helped you decide. And so I just want to put that information out there right from the beginning. Let's get into the planner. I ordered the 2021 Powersheets with my own money. I was not provided these Powersheets for free. I was provided the opportunity to order them early to review them and share with you here. I ordered these honestly to see what changes had been made. The team has shared that there were a lot of changes to, especially the prep work section at the beginning of the planner, and I honestly just wanted to see it for myself and decide if I wanted to share it with you. Clearly, I have decided to do that today. When I opened the box, I have to tell you that I was honestly surprised at how impressed I was with the cover and the planner in general. The simple change of rounding the corners for the brass corners or gold corners has made all the difference to me. This is very elevated compared to last year with that simple change. Also, because the product has been condensed inside, the product is thinner. So if you look at it from this view, this part of the planner is just generally smaller, which means the coil can be smaller. All of this combined really makes the first impression of this feel like a project notebook, a goal setting notebook, instead of a massive book that feels overwhelming right from the start. That is one of the first things that I loved as soon as I opened the box. And clearly I did choose this color cover. If you are looking for information on all the covers and all the accessories and how all of them go together, I highly suggest that you watch one of the other videos that's out there and available. I'll put some links in the description below from some of my planner friends who have made videos with that type of information, or Instagram accounts for people you can look to for more information like that. For me, I simply want to go through the book with you. Once you open up the inside of this particular cover color combination, the inside pocket is also the light blue with the gold lines, and the pocket has been lowered. So instead of angling as high as it did last year, it's much easier to get items in and out. You start, of course, with a place to put your name and the year, and then you have coiled in stickers. Now, there are just a few stickers here. You can certainly get sticker books from Cultivate What Matters during launch, and there will be bundles available as well to include things like that. I really found I did not use the stickers that much in 2020 for my Powersheets. I did use them during setup, but then I really didn't use them on the months that I used the tending list or the quarterly refresh and that kind of thing. So This was plenty for me. I have tons of stickers left from last year, so I really didn't need to buy the additional stickers. You have an introductory page acknowledging that 2020 has been challenging. And then you have this fun pop. This is another one of the patterns that is available this year in the planner and in accessories. You have a place to start right out the gate, just kind of jotting down your ideas. I really, really appreciate that this is a good place for just getting your initial thoughts out on paper with goal setting. Then you get into one of the first changes that I really love on the interior pages. They have incorporated blocks of color throughout. This really helps your eye know where to go. When all of these pages, for 30 plus pages, is simply black and white text, it's overwhelming. This still could seem like a lot at first glance, but incorporating the color, changing up the font, helping you figure out what this page is focusing on very quickly at a glance helps you move through these pages much easier than previous versions. So let's look at a couple of details here. That, of course, is one of the things that I love. What I don't love about this is one of the first pages that you're working on starts with a negative thought. Comparison isn't just the thief of joy, it's the thief of everything. I completely understand the thought behind this, but I really, really dislike that this is the first thing that you're reading as you're really working through your prep work. As you get through this page, there's this small bullet where it talks about gratitude turns what we have into more than enough. That, I feel like, is what should be up here. And the concept of this comparison really, I wish, was minimized. And not to be unrealistic, and especially in 2020, to try to ignore the negative and act like everything's fine. That's not really what I mean. I mean, this is a place where you're sitting down to think and dream and work through practical steps towards your goals, and I just don't like that it starts with a negative vibe. Okay, speaking of starting with a negative vibe, let's keep going and get into some positivity because there's a lot I love about this planner. So you start working through. I'm not going to read you every single word and go through it on that detail, but this page is a really good example of where they've simplified the prep work. Instead of a couple of pages and repetitive information, this is all on one sheet, helping you think about how you think, what you value right out the gate. This is the kind of page that I'm talking about. What makes you come alive? What a positive thought. What a positive place to put your mindset as you start to think about goals. And then it works through the practical steps of thinking through that, getting to a deeper level. So you have this page here, great questions, asking them early, making you think about where you are right now, where you've been. So as we go through this, I really want to focus on how I think this planner would help you as you're thinking through the planner, maybe with different personality types and styles, because I think whether or not the Powersheets is the right goal setting planner for you or a good goal setting planner for you, even if you want to use more than one, I think that may have to do with how you think and what your personality style is, and if you've had a lot of experience with goal setting or not. Okay, so we're thinking about what is important to us, what gives us energy, what fires us up, and again, plenty of space to really work through. I love that you have a lot of brainstorming space in this planner. You can use a regular planner, like a calendar planner, and you can track and work on goals in almost any of those planners, but to have the space to really think it through without having to necessarily have it in a separate notebook and then just having room to write your neatly formed, finalized goals, that's where the Powersheets really gives you the room to work through it all in one place. Next, we come on to more evaluation about where we are and in different areas of life. A couple of things I love about this is that it does give you 8 areas. So if you want to follow the framework of this planner throughout and you want to have 8 goals in 8 different areas, you really can use it that way. Of course, you could evaluate these 8 areas and decide that you want to have fewer goals, or if you want to have 8 goals as the rest of this is set up, you might want to have, 3 of them on finances or 2 of them on your family, 1 of them on your spiritual growth. You could, of course, use it any way like that. This page gives you kind of a scale of 1 to 10, but it still also gives you places to jot down your thoughts and ideas. There's not a lot of leading into how to use this much space. So as you'll see in the quarterly refresh, I kind of wonder if they could have made this page like they did the quarterly refresh pages. And I'll show you the difference in a little bit. The other thing I think that is really good for this type of evaluation is for people who tend to be intuitive. So if you tend to make a decision based on your gut, if the first thing you tend to purchase or gravitate towards or something like that tends to be the right choice for you just throughout your life, then it's going to be a lot easier to do a page setup like this than maybe somebody who needs more time to verbally work through what they're thinking, how they're feeling. And so that's where I do think there's value in having just the 1 to 10 or the space. So different personality types may want to use the different parts of this box more than the other. Now we have the overall, this is basically like a SWOT analysis. If you have ever studied business, you know that SWOT is for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now that's the business model. This is kind of like treating yourself as a business that has value, that has potential for growth, and considering those same things for yourself. So you have what worked, what didn't, what you're grateful for, and what you've learned. Again, this is an area where they've simplified it down from last year's layout, but given you kind of the same areas to consider. Now that we are on to the next section, that's all been kind of evaluation of where we've been, and we're going to start thinking through what we've started writing down. So now it says, get ready to break free. How many times have you accepted defeat before even trying? So if you'll notice, we're on page 14 and 15. So we're already saying, what are we not even putting down on paper? So we've started to work through some things, but the team really adds value in the power sheets here by having you pause and say, what is not even going on paper right now? What could really be a goal or a dream that needs to be broken down into a goal that you're not even considering because of a few things? Maybe it's fear, maybe it's how you identify yourself. And I love this section. There's so much value in asking yourself, Michael Hyatt calls it limiting beliefs, but really taking a moment to say, before we go any further, what are we not even considering putting on paper? And let's talk about it. Once we have taken that pause, we have another area to consider. And they are thinking about, time, thinking about the future, what will it matter down the road. Personally, if you've been around the Cultivate What Matters community for a while, you know that Laura likes to reference to the concept of, what will be important when you're 80. And I really have struggled with that. I think even as the stage of life that we're at with grown adult children who are transitioning into their careers and family, that it's still hard for me to imagine being 80. I can't imagine what that feels like to a 20-year-old or a 23-year-old or even a 30-year-old, And so I love that they've kind of taken that part out. So it says, looking back on the whole of your life, where will you want to be grateful you spent your time and attention? So really, even if you can only imagine 5 years in the future or 2 years in the future, you can answer this question. These pages are a great place to really start your forward thinking. So you've been thinking about where you've been and who you are, and you're starting to make the transition at this point in the prep work to what the future holds. Not only what will be important to you, but to start looking at the vision of those specific things that you want to have in your life that will bring the most value before you ever get to the actual goal setting. At this point, you have more kind of brainstorming room to think about that legacy. This may be a place where you want to use images, again, to personality types and styles. If you're more of a visual learner than if you rather use images than write out a bunch of words, you can use those portions of the Powersheets the most and keep the writing to a minimum. So I really think that they're meeting the needs of a huge community with the variety that's in the Powersheets. So my cultivated year, you're starting to look back through your initial setup pages, mark things that stand out to you. I highly recommend highlighting. So go back through your prep pages and scan the page, highlight what jumps out at you, especially again if you're an intuitive type of personality. Just start with that. So you're going to go through the first part of the prep work and think about that. You can do sentences. Again, you could do this visually, however you want to use the page. I also think there would be value if some of these blank pages were dot grid, but you can print a dot grid sheet from the Cultivate What Matters website. The wildcard pages, I needed a second to think about that. The wildcard pages, there's a ton of those. I'll talk more about those in a minute, but there's a dot grid option. So you could always print that, cut it out, and put it in here if you really want dot grid or lined, in fact. So the yes and no list, I like the idea of maybe starting this during the prep work, but leaving some room for throughout the year and really, kind of keeping track of what you realized you needed to minimize or eliminate and what you needed to incorporate more of. And now we are into what you may think of as the actual goal prep. But this year we're only on page 20 and 21 instead of 30 something. So this actually can go very quickly, or you could take your time and do a couple of pages a day for say a week or so. But here we have a great page to imagine your best year ever that is much more guided. Not only does it give you a framework for how to kind of write out a vision statement or an affirmation or however you want to label this, but it actually tells you where to go back in your prep work to find some of the things that may reference and help you fill in these sections. They did put it in here. My legacy starts today. When I'm 80, I want to, and then blank. So if you struggle with that, don't worry about the number, just make it the future and work with it from there. So I really didn't love having this page done in my 2020 Powersheets. I did reference it a few times a year, especially as I reworked quarterly goals, and I really, really enjoy that page. If there is one page in the entire planner that I would tell you to look at, it is page 23. This is where I would tell you to go if you're getting stuck and you just kind of feel like you need something to help you figure out how to get to the next step or the next part of the goal setting process at any stage. You have examples, how to break it down yearly, quarterly, and so on. And then you have the reminders that the 90-day increments are super powerful to help with focus. And then also a place to go back to what you want to cultivate most in 2021. And I love these pages for that. Now you have a place to kind of simplify your year before you get into your goal detail. How do you want to set aside either time or money for these goals? Thinking about the season of life you're in. So our children are just over a year apart, and the years that they were preschoolers compared to now, my time is much more my own than theirs. It's still theirs a lot, but it's a lot more my own. So you have a place for that, and then you have a great, again, open space to rough draft your goals from 1 to 8, and there's instructions and advice there. Now you have a place to write your goals for the year on 1 page. I love that they are on 1 page. If you want to keep this planner open to just 1 page, and it's this one, you could set this up into a stand. You could have it flat, but only need this side open. I love, 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 love that all your goals are in 1 page. Excellent job, Cultivate team. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, across from that, you have more space for vision boarding. I really like that there, again, is a lot more space for you to use this how you want. Again, to personalities, that could be overwhelming for some and very freeing for others. But this vision board would be different than some of the things you did earlier, because this is really after you have set your goals for the year. So now you start to visualize what it's going to look like when you accomplish those goals, and maybe more importantly right now, visioning what it's going to look like as you reach those goals. For example, in 2020, I had a goal to run a 10K, finish it under a certain amount of time. I was able to do that in February. I actually attended the last Run Disney weekend that to date has occurred. And anyway, I'm just really, really proud of that goal. But honestly, the work of training for it is really more the part that required me to dig deep, required me to think about my why. The race day itself was the celebration. The race day was the fun. The race day was the confidence that I knew I could do it by then, and I was able to enjoy it. So don't think about your vision board as being only when the goal is done, but maybe how it's going to look along the way, the parts you're going to enjoy, or even if you need that kind of reinforcement, how you're going to overcome the obstacles you see popping up maybe to try to slow you down. So now we go into the concept of the word of the year. Another excellent change by the Cultivate team to have this word of the year come after the goal setting, after the vision boarding, because now you have an overall picture of where you want to be, and you can fine tune that down to a focus word. I really like to use the word of the year as my kind of filter that everything goes through. So for 2020, my word of the year was clarity. And I wanted clarity in the spaces in our home, in a couple of areas that had really been the places where all the rest of the stuff went when we moved into this home. I wanted clarity in our finances. I wanted clarity in, what I was doing with my free time, which, has definitely been a little different. So I really like the placement of this. Again, at this point, so much value in having it there. Now we are on to just a little bit of encouragement and beauty. So I'll let you appreciate that for a moment. Okay, now we really get into taking action. You have your goals on 1 page earlier, right before your word of the year. Now you have a place to take each of those goals. So this would be for goal 1, goal 2, and so on. You can really start incorporating your color coding if you assign flags from the beginning. So the sticker sheet that it comes with it has these 10 different colors. For better or for worse, again, 10 colors, 8 goals. I guess it gives you some choices on what colors you want to incorporate, but when you look at this compared to, say, the 8 areas that they have you evaluate, those are color coded still. So anyway, and I'm not a big fan of this light purple. It's really hard to read. You can't write in anything light purple as you go throughout the rest of your year. So anyway, sidetracked, but you have this breakdown for every single goal. You have a yearly goal, your why, again with budgeting, time or money, space, that kind of thing, and then what things will look like. mini goals along the way, so kind of start to finish, literally. I think there would be a lot of value, again, in this being at least dot grid. So, I don't know. That's just the way my brain thinks, though. I love lines and dot grids and maybe not as much open space. It would be really fun to do a layout here where you literally have like a journey. So your start, and you use this as a vision board. So like for my 10K example, I could have, registration. I could then have something with, new running shoes, a picture of those. I could have a picture of some of the places I'm going to do my training runs. I could have a picture of picking out my outfit if I'm doing a fun outfit for Run Disney, and so on and so forth, and then literally the finish line. So, there's value in having the flexibility of that open space. Again, you have these for all 8. That just continues through all the way to page 47. So again, almost 50 pages of prep work, but a lot of it is not really the prep work. It's just giving you space to start breaking it down and moving forward, which I like. You do have an annual overview in this sense. So you have a box for every month, and then they're done in columns for each quarter. So quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4. Don't forget there's tips throughout the planner. Now, what they've done this year for the Wildcard. So I mentioned briefly you can get Wildcard printables in dot grid or lined. And what they've done here is giving you the information on downloading those, all the different wildcards that are available. But what you could do then is use like washi to adhere 2 wildcards right in here. So if you have 2 primary goals for the year, or your most important goals, or even just the ones you want for now, this is a great place to put those wildcards in the planner. Now you get into your month view. You no longer have tabs for the quarters, you just have tabs for the months. And then at the beginning, you've already done all your prep work, so you just have your pages for your month. But once you get into April, you have quarterly refreshes after April, well, at the beginning of April, the beginning of July, and the beginning of October. Let's take a few minutes to look at what one of the months looks like. This is very similar to previous Powersheets layouts. You have these 4 grids. You have a monthly view. So a great use for the monthly pages would be to track things related to the goals that you've set. If you have a big financial goal, you may want to use this as a financial planner or a bill tracker or personal spending tracker. If you had a goal for, again, running, you may want to put your running schedule in here. If you want to track things like migraines or health issues, if you have autoimmune disease, you could track symptoms. So I would recommend to think about using these pages in relation to your goals. But again, you're going to want to have this easily accessible for things like that. After that first monthly layout, you do have this great colorful tip spread. This is the only time you have it in the planner, so this would be a great place to put a little flag, maybe where the flag sticks out of the top so you could come back to it quickly. But these were some of the same tips that were in the planner before, but because they have brightened up the color, given you a rainbow view, brought up the titles, all of this is just so much easier to look at and incorporate. So I love that change. Now you get into brainstorming your month and the tending list. And this has not really changed, except I do love the way that, and I want to point out how the week and the daily is broken down. First of all, this page is perforated, so you can take this out, put it on your fridge, put it in another planner, whatever you need to do to make it the most effective for you. But on the week view, you get 5 weeks. So no matter what the weeks are like in the month, no matter when the first day or the last day of the month is, you have a line for every week. And then, so even partial weeks. And then on the daily actions, if you actually look, let me zoom you in. So if you look closely, they've actually marked from Monday to Sunday a darker line for the full week. So for January of 2021, the first is on a Friday, Sunday is the 3rd, and then you have a full week with a darker line in between. So I really do like that layout, and I really think there's value. Then you have a place for your month in review. This is a great place to put notes that will feed into the very last page of the planner. But basically, that month view repeats for every single month, except, as I mentioned, at the beginning of each quarter, you're going to have a quarterly refresh. This is how I think the monthly or the annual goals could look at the front of the planner that they have done just in the quarterly section now. So you have each of the areas, and if you need to relabel them, then you're going to have to do it here as well. You have your 1 to 10, and you have a little bit of room to make some notes. Then you have a different area of focus for each quarter. So this particular one for April is about time. And then July, the focus is like incorporating more fun. Then for October, it's simplifying. So if you want to unhurry your life, and this is an excellent list to think about that. And of course, you don't have one at the end of the planner because you would get your next power sheets. So you go into December, and again with the monthly view, and then you have a year in review open page and a year in review for these different things. You know, maybe a song you're into, your favorite meal, a milestone. I think this would be a great place to make notes every single quarter. So if you think about or even each month where you're having this space to kind of make these notes, then you might want to feed from those into this page at the end. And that is the end of the planner. I just want to see if there's anything else. On the wildcard pages, it does say in here, and you can go to Cultivate What Matters. I'll put, of course, my link below. But there are everything for wildcard pages for finances, meal planning, decluttering. So if you're working on one of those throughout the month, then I would recommend considering putting it right on your month tab, maybe just on the back so you can easily go to that tab. That's where I would put the wildcard page that is associated with the month that you're in. If you have any other questions about this planner, about the steps, about how this may be the right or maybe not the perfect planner for you, leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe and like this video. You can find me most days on Instagram at Tammy Skipper. Bye guys.